when I became a fleet diesel mechanic, that's when I realized I didn't know shit. I didn't know a damn thing when I became a fleet diesel mechanic. Yo, what it do? It's your boy Easy Tech Joe here, back with another video, man. This video is a little different. Right now, I'm just changing out this little light receptacle right here, a little light work right now. I figure we have a little conversation, right? As you all may know or may not know, I'm a fleet diesel mechanic, all right? I started off at the dealership. I made a video a while back. I quit my job. If you want to see that video, you can go check it out. I quit my job. I left the dealership and became a fleet diesel mechanic. And basically all I want to talk about today is while I'm changing out this little light receptacle right here, you know what I'm saying, is what's better for a diesel technician? To be at a fleet shop, to be a fleet diesel technician, or the dealership? Maybe not just a fleet mechanic, but just any other kind of mechanic other than the dealership, right? Back when I was at the dealership, I heard, you know, horror stories about dealerships. Oh, the dealership this, the dealership that, you know what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, hyper tough ratchets from Walmart. I did a couple reviews about it. Anyways, if you want to see that video, you can check that out too. But anyways, what was I saying? Anyways, for a diesel technician, maybe you're just coming in. Maybe you're just coming in. You're doing a few applications. Maybe you've been into a diesel tech for a while, and you're wondering, you know, what's better? Where should I start? Where should I throw my applications at? Should you be a diesel tech at a dealership, or should you become a fleet diesel technician? I can only talk from my experience. I can't talk from anybody else's experience, right? But back when I was at the dealership, that's what I was saying. Back when I was at the dealership, I would see on YouTube about how people talk about dealerships, and the dealership, they talk about the pay, the flat rate, how the dealership treats you, how they're not paying dealership techs enough, or how they may mess up their pay doing flat rate. For the most part that I know, fleet diesel technicians are not flat rate. We're all hourly. Now, I can only talk about where I work, but for the most part, I can't see a fleet tech being flat rate because, I mean, you work for a fleet. You're not, you know. But anyways, what's the difference between fleet and the dealership, right? First of all, the kind of work you're doing. When you work at a fleet, you work at a fleet. You're working for a particular company, and you're only working on their trucks. Dealership, you're working on multiple kind of trucks. If you're a Freightliner kind of guy, if you're a Freightliner dealership, you're only working on Freightliners. If you work at a Volvo dealership, you're only working on Volvos, right? But when you're working on the fleet, but at the same time, you're working on different companies' Volvos. You're working on different companies' Freightliners. For a Freightliner, you may have an M2 one day, and then have a new Cascadia the next day. You know what I'm saying? I never worked with Volvos. I don't really know what kind of Volvos are out there. I've only worked on Freightliners. Where I work now, the fleet I've got now, they're Freightliners. So I can't really talk about Volvo, but you get what I'm saying, though, right? This is to do it right. Yeah. Basically, the difference is when it comes to work, is that the fleet, you're only working on that company's equipment, on that company's vehicles, right? So you see the same vehicles every week, right? Where I work, you know, the drivers come and pick up their trucks, and on the weekends they bring their trucks back, right? And that's when I work on their trucks. They may have a complaint or whatever. But for the most part, you're seeing the same trucks all the time. So it's almost like these trucks are your babies, right? You nurture them, you take care of them. You see them every week, right? At the dealership, that's not happening. You may see a particular company all the time, but you're not always working on their trucks or that particular truck, right? At the fleet, I can take care of these trucks. I know what's going on with them. I know their history because I'm the one that touched them. If I didn't touch them, my counterparts touched them, right? And we're all in communication about the different vehicles and the equipment and the trailers that's here. So that's the difference when it comes to the work portion of the fleet and the dealership, right? But now, once again, I'm only talking from my experience. I'm only talking from my experience. The difference in pay, like I said, I'm hourly rather than flat rate. I'd rather be hourly than flat rate. I've heard and seen flat rate horror stories. I don't want a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good deal as well. But when you first come into the business, what's what you look for? What's the benefit of both, right? Now, for me, I can only talk about my experience. The dealership I started at, it was a pretty good dealership. But do I regret leaving? Not at all. Not at all. It's probably the best decision I made for my career thus far. And the reason for that is because I've only been a diesel tech about 2 years, right? I've probably learned more being a fleet mechanic in the past 3 months than I've done the whole year. And so then I was at the dealership, right? But why is that? Why is that? I love where I work. I didn't have a problem with the dealership that I was at. And I can only speak from my experience. But, and it's about the company you work for too. I don't know. But I can say that my experience with dealership, it was alright while it lasted, right? Some dealerships have apprentice programs where they actually build you up and they nurture you. It really depends on where you work. I think the dealership is a good place for new people to get their foot into the door because dealerships are always hiring. I think it is a good place for new techs to get their foot wet, right? But after you're there for a year, you need to evaluate what you're doing and where you are, right, in your career. If you've been there for a year and you feel like you're not getting the pay or that you want or need, or you feel like you're not learning what you need to learn, you feel like, I don't know, whatever the situation is, I can only talk from my experience. Then after a year of, not just a dealership, but no matter where you work, after a year that you've been there and you feel like you haven't learned enough, you know what I'm saying, that you should have learned within that year, or maybe you're not getting paid enough that you think you should get paid within a year, you need to start branching out and looking at your options, right? And that's what happened to me. But the fleet, man, I love being a fleet mechanic, actually. Now, as you can see, I'm sweating. I'm hot right now. So it ain't like the dealership where you in the AC, they kind of spoil you a little bit. When you're a fleet mechanic, I can only speak from where I work at, you know what I'm saying? You're more out there. You're more, you get more experience, right? You're not just in the AC in the dealership with a corporation. When I say corporation, I mean the dealership is a more corporate. If you understand what I'm saying. It's more corporate, it's more politics. When you're a fleet tech, you just out here grinding, man. You out here getting it. You know what I'm saying? And you're out here getting it, man. And I love it. I love it. I don't type that too much. And there we go, right? So the dealership, you know, I was touching on transmissions a little bit, doing, you know, a little pronto of work with the Freightliner dealership at where I'm at now, being a fleet diesel mechanic. I touch a whole lot more, man. Like when you are a fleet mechanic, you are getting more experience and more things, and it's coming. It's coming. You know what I'm saying? You're always working. You're never bored. I know the dealership, sometimes you just ain't got no work sometimes. Especially when you're flat rate, that can really hurt your pay, right? When you're hourly, when you are a fleet mechanic, it's different, man. It's always something to do. Something's always happening. You know what I'm saying? somebody got a breakdown somewhere, I gotta go and see what's going on with that. You know what I'm saying? Get my tools, get my tool bag, and head out on the road to go see what's going on. So those are just some of the differences with being a fleet mechanic and being a dealership mechanic, right? I don't regret this at all. I really like it. You know what I'm saying? They're paying me enough to like it. So I guess that's the difference as well. I'm getting paid more hourly here than I was at the dealership. With my experience, it really helped me out a lot. And like I said, I learned a lot at being a fleet mechanic. Then I've learned a whole year and some months at being a dealership mechanic. It's a lot of, at the dealership, it's kind of, you're kind of changing out parts. You find yourself being a part changer at the dealership. Once again, I can only talk about my experience, right? You find yourself being a parts changer, especially when you first come into the business. When you first come into the business, being a dealership mechanic, you find yourself just changing parts, right? Now, of course, you might have some kind of training, but nobody's really putting you to the test mentally. Once again, I can only talk about my experience. And well, I'm done with this, so I can put this up. But when I became a fleet diesel mechanic, that's when I realized I didn't know shit. I didn't know a damn thing when I became a fleet diesel mechanic. It was a difference. I became a parts changer, from a parts changer to really feeling like, okay, now I'm becoming a real mechanic now. I'm really, like, my mental capacity is being put to the test. I really got to figure shit out rather than just saying, oh, brakes need change brakes. You know what I'm saying? Air compressor needs change the air compressor. You know, you're not really thinking about the parts. You just know that this needs change. I'm going to take it off and put it on. But that's really, it's more of a fun challenge being a fleet mechanic. It's something always happening. Something always going wrong. And you got to figure it out. There is no, oh, you know, I can't figure it out. Let me just change the throttle. Let me go to the service advisor and see what we can do. No, you got to figure it out, because these vehicles, these trucks are your babies. You see these trucks every week. So you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's some of the difference, man. I just wanted to chat with you guys about it, man, while I'm changing this little light receptacle here. I mean, y'all can see there was light work. There's the old one here. They really only took 2 minutes. I'm just here talking to y'all, wasting time. But yeah, I really do not regret becoming a fleet diesel mechanic, and I would recommend this to anybody, right? Coming into the business, hey, once you get a year under your belt, man, wherever you at, if you're not feeling comfortable there, man, branch out, look into it. All right, you're not gonna regret it. All right, you're not gonna regret it at all. This company here, they built me up, man. Like I said, I left the dealership thinking I knew something, became a fleet diesel mechanic, realized I didn't know a damn thing. All right, I didn't know nothing. I knew what parts were, but if you ask me, oh, how did this electrical part work, or, you know what I'm saying? Okay, hey, the ABS light's not working on the trailer. What do you do next? Or, you know, you test this relay out. Okay, this relay's working. What's next? You know, you gotta really troubleshoot some things. And when you're at the dealership, if you're a new mechanic, you're not really troubleshooting much at all, because they got the big dogs doing that. But then everybody at the dealership is flat rate, so they don't really have time to teach you, because they're trying to get their money. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get their money. They don't have time to teach you. All right? But, hey, this is just a little talk, a little chat while I do a little work here. So, hey, man, I'm done with this. About to find something else to do. Hey, y'all know what it is. Be easy.